I don't know whether you have been keeping up with it or not, but the mess that's going on up in Minnesota. And there was an incident, I think it was this last Sunday, where I want to say the unthinkable happened. There was, and you may have seen clips on the news. I was watching it as it was happening, but there a group of protesters, and I say that in quotes, a group of agitators had made plans to disrupt, and all this was supposedly secret, go to a place and disrupt to bring further attention to ICE being there and the deportations of illegal immigrants. And so they went to this church. Typically, whenever you see a protest at a church, it's typically outside. But these folks busted their way into this church as the worship service was going on. I'm trying to remember the name of the church.
It was the Southern Baptist
Church.
It
was a Baptist church, but I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. But anyway, I had seriously, you can look at it on YouTube. I had seriously thought about downloading it and bringing it and showing it. However, F-bombs were just being dropped everywhere. It was horrendous. So what these people did is their chant was ICE out, hands up, don't shoot. Remember back, during the riots in Minnesota, Minneapolis, particularly, hands up, don't shoot after George Floyd deal. So they were saying ICE out, hands up, don't shoot. They were up in the pastor's face. This is on camera. Don Lemon, if you remember Don Lemon, he was there recording it, and they did arrest him, and now he's got federal charges. But they were disrupting this whole worship service to the point now, and more information's coming out, that evidently they had, like, I don't know if it was like a children's church or a nursery or what it was downstairs in the church, down in the basement. And these agitators were blocking the entrance to go downstairs, blocking the parents from going down. There is this one shot that's gone viral where he is absolutely a lunatic, is up in the face of a child, and you can see the child looks to be maybe 7, 8 years old, and the father is kind of shielding him like this, and the kid is just crying because this guy is calling his parents Nazis and using absolutely horrendous language.
Telling them that they're going to go to hell too.
Tell them the congregation is going to go to hell. And the reason that they were agitating is because this church was a white church. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I thought the pastor had something to do with ICE also.
It wasn't the guy preaching. They were looking for some other guy that supposedly, and I haven't heard anything further about this guy, but supposedly one of the pastors was had some kind of ICE leadership within. This was St. Paul is where this took place. Had some kind of leadership, and they were after him. Is who they were after. They had targeted him, and he wasn't there. It was absolutely horrendous. Now, why do I bring that up? In light of the lesson that we're going to be looking at today, one would think that, well, that could never happen here. And we have all kinds of, and Val and I, when we're watching this, we've been talking about it. We have all kinds of security here. All kinds of security.
Got lots of guys packing too.
Yeah. And you've got to wonder, because this church, all they did, there was some older lady that they were trying to get out, escape outside a side door, and she slipped and fell and injured herself. But you got to wonder if something like that were to happen here. Now you wouldn't think in Sullivan, you wouldn't think that, but they didn't think that it would happen there. I mean, St. Paul's a little bit bigger than Sullivan. That's nothing new. It's nothing new at all. In fact, it was going on during Jesus' day. And that kind of stuff that happened at that church in St. Paul. By the way, they called 911. No police showed up. None. Zero. None showed up. Okay. I take that back. They showed up after the fact and told the pastor that there was nothing. This was during their stand down order. There was nothing that they could do. Okay. And you think, well, that's up north. That's in St. Paul, Minnesota. That wouldn't happen here. But they thought it wouldn't happen to them. It's one thing to follow Jesus. And you don't like to think of opposition to following Jesus. You hear certain commentators say that this really isn't about illegal immigrants. It's not necessarily about a certain group of people. It is about good versus evil, though. A group of people who storm a church and say vile things. I mean, vile things. You would not think that it would happen here. So Jesus, in what we're going to be looking at today, Jesus is giving a serious. It's kind of a two-edged sword kind of thing. He's given them an encouragement, but he's also given them a warning, saying that you could face a time where, and you probably will face a time in which what you say you believe will be put to the test. We often think of tests being, just the various struggles that we go through. And certainly that is. But the testing that he's talking about here is a whole lot different. And so these are sobering things that he's getting ready to talk to us about. Okay? So think about what's going on in Minnesota. And it's spread. There was some stuff that went on over the weekend. It's kind of like, Val and I have this running joke. Well, it's Friday, it's the weekend, get the popcorn ready, because there's going to be a show. And every weekend there's, they come out in mass. And it's an interesting thing. So in light of all of that, let's start looking at this. So he's talking about loyalty being tested here. So here he's talking specifically not just to his 12, but those who are following him. But he's talking to his disciples. He's getting ready to send them out on their own. Okay? Just like send them out into different communities, if you will. And he's trying to prepare them for what they're going to run into. All right, first of all, snakes and doves. Chapter 10, verses 16 to 20.
Okay. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Be on your guard. You'll be handed over to the local councils and be flogged in the synagogues. On my account you'll be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time you'll be given what to say, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you.
Okay, so verse 16. So it basically is saying, I'm getting ready to send you guys out. Notice the two opposites here. I'm sending you out as sheep among wolves. Sheep among wolves. Think of the imagery. They would know the imagery. Think of the imagery, though. Sheep are, well, how would you characterize sheep, just in general?
Docile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Meek. Kind of docile.
Dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought.
Yeah.
They need somebody to guide them.
Yeah. Kind of passive in a way. Now think of wolves. Wolves are carnivores,
Aggressive.
predatory. So he says, I'm not, the people that I'm sending you out among are not going to be all of them receptive. And they're waiting. And if I've not seen a wolf up close, but they excuse me, they stalk their prey. They stalk them. They run in packs. And they when they run in packs, they surround their prey, and then they devour them. All right. Because of that, that's the therefore. Because of that. Now notice again his imagery here. Be as shrewd as a snake. I hate snakes. I hate them.
That's biblical.
Yeah. But what is he talking about here? Be as shrewd as snakes.
I think they're sneaky.
Oof. Yeah.
They're on you before you realize it.
Yeah. Some snakes, in fact, in my head, all snakes are dangerous. Even in my head, a black snake, kill it. I want the thing. The Bible says leave them alone. And I do everything the Bible tells me to do.
That's on tape now.
They're I don't want to call them slithery, because that's not what he's telling them to do. Notice the word shrewd.
Crafty.
Thank you. Be aware and watch, and as innocent as doves. Now, think about hearing this for the first time. Wait a minute, you're telling us to be shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. What? So what is he telling them here?
We can be smart without sinning.
Remember who he's sending them out among. So there's some situations that you don't want to walk into. Okay? What is this thing I always hear about snakes? I don't know that I agree with it, but I hear it. That snakes are more afraid of you than you are of them. I don't want to test that. But think about who. I think about, okay, so there are certain situations that you don't use the brain that God gave you. Don't walk into that. and don't walk in like a bull in a china shop, if I can use another analogy. I think about this guy, this last person that got shot, this last protester that got shot, and they're making him into a hero, which he is not, was carrying a gun. Had it right on his hip. Carried it, I think it was a week before the shooting. He had a conceal and carry permit, but wait a minute, do you take a gun? Why would you take a gun to a anarchist protest? Oh, so that's what he's talking about. Know what you're walking into. All right? Now watch. He reinforced this now. Verse 17. Be on guard. You will be, future tense, you will be handed over to local councils and flogged where? In the synagogues. There's going to come a time, and this proved out, there's going to come a time where you're going to be arrested for what you believe. You're going to be punished for what you believe. And we saw this played out in St. Paul. It didn't matter. They targeted this. They would stand outside hotel rooms, hotels rather, loudly protesting because they thought that that's where the Border Patrol was staying. Like animals, like wolves. Okay, be on guard. Well, no, wait, be on guard. One of the things that back when that was back 2006, 7, when I got my motorcycle license. And
Yeah, around there.
for the second time, yeah. I went to this motorcycle safety course. And one of the things that they taught us in that motorcycle safety course.
How's that going for you?
Some people just,
I know.
well,
it hasn't been your fault.
When a door opens, some people you just
they taught us that when you're riding, that you scan. Okay, you scan, and maybe you do this like in a car. I don't, but you scan. And the reason for that is you don't know. You got to be aware, particularly if you're on a two-way road. You got to be aware of whatever's coming at you from the side. Okay. There's a lot of T-boning that happens with motorcycles. So watch it. He says, be on guard. Be aware that there is evil in this world. There are people who are opposed to the cause of Christ in this world. And because of that, you will be handed over. You remember back particularly during the previous administration, people were arrested, Christian people were arrested for praying outside of abortion clinics, sent to jail. This one person was 80-something years old, I think, 86, 87 years old, sent to jail.
Is it illegal to pray in the community?
It was then. It was then. It's not now. It was then. Yeah, they would I say they would block, but they would get down like on the sidewalk in front of a clinic, and they would kneel down. A group of them would kneel down and be praying, and they were arrested for obstruction.
It wasn't illegal. They just arrest them.
Yeah, they just, praying in, maybe I misunderstood. Yeah, praying in public is, it was considered that way then. It is not now. Yeah. Okay, now watch. Verse 18. He says the reason for this. There's a reason that this is happening, or going to happen. On my account, you will be brought before who? Political people, governors and kings, as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. Oh. On my account. So because you're teaching, preaching, witnessing about me to others, those with political power, governors and kings, you'll be brought before them as witnesses. Remember Paul, in all of his travels there, he was a Roman citizen, and ultimately, because of his imprisonment, he appealed to King Agrippa. Okay, you read about this, I think it's in Acts, and in some of Paul's writings. He was brought before King Agrippa, and bore witness, shared his testimony before Agrippa. Okay? But it's on account of what we believe in him. Right? But when they arrest you, don't worry about what you're going to say. Why? Don't worry about what you're going to say. At that time, I'll give you what to say. Ooh.
Takes the pressure off.
Uh-huh.
It'll take the pressure off.
It takes the pressure. Yeah.
I was just thinking, Scott this morning is preaching about the glory of God. And so this is a display of God's glory.
Yep.
That will empower you to say what you need to say.
Absolutely. So when they arrest you, don't worry about what you're going to say. I'll give you what you're going to say. For it will, now here's the key, it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. So there's going to be the Holy, notice now, Jesus is talking about the Holy Spirit here. The Spirit of the Father. Now, did they fully comprehend what that was? I don't think so. At this point, I don't think so. So what he's saying is, I'm getting ready to send you out into an environment that is going to be hostile toward you. Don't be afraid. Don't let fear stop you. If you're hauled in and you're asked, I'll give you the words to say. Whew. Okay?
Makes me think about Eli, who's going into a very hostile environment.
Yeah. See, it is, I think it's difficult for us to comprehend that kind of thing. Because there's nobody outside this church harassing us for coming here. I'll try not to get out in the weeds here. One of the most fascinating, scary things about this whole thing that's going on in Minnesota is the fact that these people they developed this app that they can all, it's very coordinated, and if you ever watch any of these videos or see news clips, you will see like an ICE raid, and then all of a sudden, I mean, there's like 5 or 6 people, and then all of a sudden you see this swarm of people. Well, there's this app that they all have now, that they have a central dispatch, and they send out, ICE vehicle spotted on South 1st Street. ICE agents identified, go. And that's where you see this swarm of people. We don't think about that here. Would that ever happen here in Sullivan? Probably not. But this is a whole network that it's an underground kind of network. And so when he's saying, I'm sending you out into a hostile world, he's talking about a very hostile world. And he's talking to you and I about a hostile world as well. That's why he's saying, you know, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. You don't antagonize. If you're brought before government officials, you share your testimony. Okay.
Jim.
Yes.
Susan Vogt and Juanita Schuler and Kathy Smith are on too.
Great. Good to have you guys. I wish I could remember the name of that app.
Mestastic.
Huh? No, it's an acronym for something. Okay. It'll come to me probably tomorrow.
And they probably have a password to get on it, because you wouldn't want regular people on it, right?
Yeah, and what they have found is that the governor of the state is involved in it. The attorney general for the state is involved in it. Several of the legislatures are involved in it. It's like a group chat. Signal. Thank you, sir.
You part of that?
Yep.
Got it on your phone?
We've been watching the same news.
Yeah.
Phones turned into the front of the room.
There are different
Yeah, it's
groups on Signal.
Yeah.
We're not part of that group.
they use that app, but they use it for, and you can communicate, right? It is like almost like a Snapchat kind of thing, right?
It's basically a texting thing, but you can also send pictures.
Yep.
And make phone calls.
Yeah, and so and they have this one guy is like they're undercover, and they'll be in the car with these persons, and you can hear them talking, and there's this one central dispatch, and they'll communicate with the central dispatch just like a police department, and they'll send out groups going over here.
This sounds like a show that Hadley and I watched on
yeah,
TV.
it's incredible.
They'll probably make a movie of that in another year or two.
Yeah, and this one guy, he's a content creator. His name is Cam Higbee, and he infiltrated this Signal group. He infiltrated them. Somehow got in there. You have to be a computer's. And he got in there and started, and he's posted it, and he's exposed it all, and so they shut it down. They shut down this one, and then they went to another group. They developed another group. He infiltrated that group. Wow. But this is some government officials now, Minnesota government officials that were involved in this Signal group. It's scary stuff. Scary stuff. Okay. Sparrows and hares. Sparrows and hares? Matthew chapter 10, verses 26 to 31.
So do not be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows.
Okay, so in light of all that we're talking about, listen to what he says. So don't be afraid of them. Them who? The ones I'm sending you out, the hostile environment that I'm sending you out into. And here's the key. Remember what I just talked about with signal. Oh, by the way, they have a training manual. It's like a 200, I think it's a 200-page training manual. It tells you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, how to identify, what to do, what to screen, video, everybody video, all that.
Is this kind of like drinking the Kool-Aid?
Yes, yes, it is. It very much is. And I say that in light of what Jesus says here next. There is nothing concealed. Remember what I told you about Cam Higby. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that may not that will not be made known. For what I tell you in the dark, now he's saying what I'm telling you behind the scenes. Okay, he's not talking about like, you know, I'm telling you something nefarious here. What I'm telling you behind the scenes, you will speak in daylight. What is it they say about daylight, sun? It's the greatest disinfectant. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim on the rooftops. So what this is, he's telling his disciples something here that he's not broadcasting to the public at large. These are to the specific people. Now, there's something interesting here. Is there one particular disciple that we don't really talk about that's involved in hearing what Jesus is talking about here?
Judas.
Judas. He's hearing everything that Jesus is talking about here. Now, why would that be? All throughout Jesus' ministry, Jesus is giving Judas every opportunity he can give him to turn his thinking, to turn his heart. Every opportunity. And so Judas is sitting there listening to this just as well as anybody else. Right? Well, I tell you in the dark, okay, it was do not be afraid of those who will kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Okay, that's a little hard to grasp. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. So everything here is temporary, right? Everything. He says there's something far beyond. There's a bigger picture here. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy the soul and the body in hell. Who's that? Satan. There's this one guy who was involved in this church invasion that is the embodiment of pure, unadulterated evil. If you listen to this guy, his William something. If you listen to this guy, he was one of the ones that invaded. And you know, because he's holding his cell phone right here, right? He is just. You want to see evil? Get a clip of this guy. Watch a clip of this guy. He's the one that went up to, you know, I told you about this kid, this little kid that the father is kind of shielding, and the kid is just, well, he's up is this close, and he's yelling. I mean, at the top of his lungs, he's yelling at the kid, telling the kid that his father is a Nazi, a white, privileged Nazi.
And then the kid is going to need extensive counseling.
Yeah. So that's why I say this is take the political side off of it. This is just evil displaying itself. Okay, so are not two sparrows sold for a penny? Yet, so what he's talking about here is even the most insignificant things, even the most seemingly insignificant things are under the Father's care. So there's not a thing that I tell my clients, for believers, nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by accident. Yet when one of them falls to the ground, not one of them falls to the ground, is outside your Father's care. And even the very hairs on your head are numbered. Now, what does he mean by that?
He knows us intimately.
Oof. Can you imagine knowing somebody that well? That I know everything that goes on, every detail about you, everything that goes on within your life. I know that. Ooh. So he's talking about God's care. He's talking about God's protection as I'm sending you out into this hostile world. Okay, last. Peace and swords, verses 32 to 34.
Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Oh, I read too far.
That's all right. It puts it in context. Mm-hmm. Whoever acknowledges me. Now, we ought to think of this in terms of salvation, and it applies, but look at it in its context. It does apply to that, and we acknowledge one of the ways that we acknowledge salvation is through baptism. That's sharing with the world, if you will. But here he's talking. Remember, he's sending them out into a hostile world. And if you choose to be quiet, stay quiet, watch, whoever acknowledges me before others, I will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. Oh. Now there was a time, in the first century church where they literally had to go underground. The writer of Hebrews, that's the reason he says, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together, which the manner of some is. They literally had to go underground, particularly in Rome, into the catacombs to have worship, okay? But he says, all right, I'm warning you about this. I'm giving you encouragement. The Father sees everything that's going on. Don't fear the one who kills the body, but preserves the soul, and vice versa. Whoever disowns me, notice the word there, disowns me. Sobering thought here. Whoever disowns me before my Father in heaven, whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven. I saw this the other day, one of the leaders in this thing in Minnesota, they take scripture and they absolutely, unapologetically pervert scripture. You remember, this is in the Gospel of John, you remember where Jesus says that he lays down his life for his friends? Okay, so this person took that, and they were talking to a group of agitators, took that scripture and said, it's better for us, agitators, to give our life for the cause for which we stand. Total perversion of that verse. Now look what he says.
Then why do they throw such a fit when somebody does?
Say that again.
Why do they throw such a fit when somebody does lay down their life?
Good point. See, they don't care. They don't care. It's kind of like, and I can say this now because it's public. It's kind of like there was a clip of Don Lemon after his involvement. If you don't remember Don Lemon, very people don't even care about. Don Lemon he was fired from CNN a few years back, and he's now gone out on his own and is doing his own podcast stuff, and very extremely narcissistic. And he was taunting. Okay, he was there as a journalist. He wasn't there as a part of the operation. He was there as a journalist. There's people going into the church, and so he says, Pam, in a video, he says, Pam Bondi, come and get me. And there was a tweet on X. Okay. And they got him. They arrested him, and now he's got federal charges. Whoever disowns me, you can claim to be a Christian, but when he's saying, it's easy to say you believe in me. It's easy to follow me around. It's easy to watch the miracles that I do. It's easy to listen to my teachings. But when the rubber hits the road, if you will, he's saying, if it comes to that point and you disown me, you stay quiet, you don't share with others about your faith, he says, I'll disown you. Then now, and this verse here is controversial. Do not suppose that I come to bring peace. Wait a minute, he's supposed to be the Prince of Peace. No. I do not come to bring peace, but a sword. Now, what is he talking about here? He's talking about that Jesus is, if I can put it this way, Jesus is the dividing line. Okay? Between that which is worldly, according to the world system, and that which is not. And he says, there is no middle ground. There is no DMZ. Those of you remember, back Vietnam. There is no DMZ. There is no middle ground. It's either you're for or you're against. That's it. Wait a minute, I want a third choice. He said, there is no third choice. When it comes right down to it. He says, so I am the dividing line between good and evil. And it will come to a point where, as Paul read on, a little further on, it will divide families. That I will, and that's what he's talking about, the sword here. I'm going to be that dividing point. That even family members who are unbelievers will shy away from you. There will be certain subjects that you won't be able to talk about. There will be certain beliefs that you hold that stay away from that. It'll be a dividing line. That's the harsh reality. We had a saying growing up in our family that two things that you stayed away from at family gatherings: politics and religion. Just didn't talk about it. Leave it alone. And so that's the kind of thing he's talking. It's going to get down even to families. Now understand, in his day, you were at risk of actually being put to death. And family members here, that's why he's talking about the sword. Family members would rat on other family members to the Roman government to protect themselves. Isn't that what the Jewish people did, the Jewish leaders did with Jesus? They couldn't get it done on their own, so they went to the Roman government and made up a story that he was being seditious and had him killed. Okay? This is hard stuff. We to think about the seriousness. That's why you've heard me say in here often, know what you believe and why you believe it, because there's going to come a time in which the people at this church in St. Paul, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing to watch them, the church members. These people are screaming obscenities, getting up in their faces, threatening them, calling them names, and the people were just, there was a calmness there. They didn't get up and confront them. There was a point, you remember the thing, hands up, don't shoot? In later testimony now that's come out, some of them thought that they meant that there was a shooter. And that's why they were saying, hands up, don't shoot. Which, yeah. But they were just as calm. The kids that were in the congregation at the time, in the worship service, they were kind of freaking out. But even the adolescents that were there were just sitting there calm. And I thought to myself, whoa, they're not scattering, they're not doing anything. They're just sitting there. Some of them weeping, yeah, but they're not screaming, not doing anything. And then it dawned on me, this. Be as shrewd as snakes, as innocent as doves. Know what you believe and why you believe it. You don't know, even in this area, you don't know. The operation was called, of these anarchists, was called Operation Pull-Up. And they were, the whole intention was they would meet together as a group secretly. They would be given instructions as to what to do, where they were going to go, how they were going to arrive, how they were going to disrupt. And so they would pull up unannounced. They'd have nobody, they'd have any warning at all. It was top secret. And that's when they showed up at this church, came in. And what is interesting is that later on that Sunday night, the pastor called the church back together and they finished the worship service that night. Incredible. Questions or comments?
I would love to hear what he preached today.
Yeah, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. I wonder how to look that up on YouTube. If I could find that, and if he did, I'll post that on our Facebook page.
You say when the police showed up in that place, obviously they called 911 when the police showed up, but they said they couldn't do nothing. So how did they get rid of them? Did they walk out of the church by themselves on their own?
They only stayed a few minutes and then walked out.
Yeah.
I think they left the church before the police could get there.
Yeah, they accomplished their task, and that was they found out that the guy that they were targeting, one of the pastors that they thought was an ICE leader, wasn't there. And so they started withdrawing. There was a signal given, and you could see it on one of the videos. There was some kind of signal given, and then they just all started marching out. Just one by one started marching out of the church. Some of the people had already gotten out the side door. And they, later on, they let them go down to get their kids. And Don Lemon is on his video saying this needs to happen. There needs to be operations like this in order to get our point across. There has to be trauma, and he's recorded as saying there has to be trauma. There has to be trauma. Okay. If you know anything about Don Lemon, he may get trauma. It's just absolutely evil thinking. Evil thinking. But yeah, they show up. I mean, a lot of these when they just there's pictures or video of when they're one particular video. This was last week, where they had stormed one of the hotels that they thought the ICE agents were staying in, and there's this one. They're in police uniform, local police uniform, metropolitan police uniform, and they're breaking windows. They're destroying the lobby area, and the cops are just standing there.
Because the mayor or whatever of the city told them not to do nothing. Is that correct?
The mayor and the governor both said to stand out. Now that's changed, supposedly. That's changed, but the order was, when this all first started a few weeks ago, that they were given a stand down order. Don't, and that's why CBP was called in. The Border Patrol was called in to protect ICE because the local police wasn't doing it. So yeah, again, just pure evil.
Do you think Jewish people thought that about Jesus whenever he went into the synagogue and had a big fit over the selling of animals, literally. The Christian movement was a threat to the Jewish religion.
Absolutely.
The establishment.
Absolutely.
So
he was seen as a heretic.
Right.
Jesus was seen as a heretic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He was a threat to their power.
Right. Right.
And
even to their belief
system.
What they believe.
Yep. They accused him of blaspheming. And
Yeah. So at what point in time, going back to what you said, make sure you know what you believe is what you believe.
Yep.
Because is that why you have so many religions? Even today, there'll never be unity.
Mm-hmm.
Never be unity.
Yeah. As long as we're free to interpret. Yeah. But those negotiables, non-negotiables. Yeah.
But even those negotiables and non-negotiables can be altered or can be misconceived.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Misconstrued.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this lesson, sobering lesson that reminds us of what you tell us is the cost of following you. And although we may not experience it here right now in this area, we know that others throughout the United States and the world experience this on a daily basis. We see almost on a daily basis also, Father, the pure evil and hatred that is caused by Satan as he roams to and fro throughout this world. Give us courage. Give us insight. Give us the willingness to stand upon what we believe and why we believe it, and when given opportunity to share that. Pray, God, for those in Minnesota who believe, that you would protect them, and those throughout the United States who take a stand to protect not only what we believe, but protect us legally, morally, spiritually. Pray for our leaders, that you would strengthen them in these days by your Spirit that lives within them. Pray, God, that during this next week that in some way you would use us to proclaim to others that we encounter the love of Jesus and the power of his resurrection. For it's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen. Thank you all.